Hello everyone, my name is Sona Lakhanpal and today I will be reading a story from my aunt's book, The Magic of Love. The story is called Call to Adventure and it's on page 167 of the book. I hope you'll enjoy listening to this narration. Thank you. Call to Adventure. The new school year had started and the days were getting longer and steamier. The heat didn't seem to bother Veer, but Tarani avoided the outdoors, preferring to occupy herself with indoor activity. One warm evening, as Tarani entered the dining room, she saw Mom and Dad sitting at the table, deeply engrossed in conversation. They were talking in undertones with rather serious expressions on both their faces. She paused. Looking from one to the other, she asked, "What's up? Is something wrong?" Just then Veer entered. "Hey, what's for dinner, Mom? I'm ravenous," he proclaimed, taking his place at the table. Mom looked up and was the first to reply to Tarani's question. "Nothing is wrong, darling. But please sit down. Dad has something to tell us." She got up from her chair and started scooping rice on Veer's plate. Hearing Mom's words, Veer's happy, carefree demeanor suddenly changed. "Why should something be wrong?" he asked in a perplexed voice, looking at Mom. When Mom didn't say anything, he turned to Tarani. "Taru." Tarani signaled for him to be patient, then looked expectantly at Dad. Dad cleared his throat before speaking. Addressing the kids, he said, "You might remember some time back I had said that my company was planning to open a branch in Singapore." He paused for them to acknowledge before carrying on. "Well, that has now happened, and I've been asked to take charge to set it." "Singapore! Wow!" Veer exclaimed excitedly. "Singapore? Does that mean?" Tarani stopped suddenly, feeling nervous. "It means that we have to move to Singapore," Mom said, confirming Tarani's suspicion. "Move to Singapore?" Veer asked incredulously. "What about school, Mom? Dad?" Tarani looked from one to the other. "Mom and I were discussing precisely that when you came in," Dad began. "Veer could transfer to a middle school in Singapore without any problem. You, on the other hand, Tarani, have only 2 more years to go. Now you could either come with us and finish school in Singapore or stay back in the hostel here for 2 years. Tarani felt a knot in her stomach. She looked down, saying nothing. "We'll do whatever you are comfortable with, darling." Mom put a reassuring hand on Tarani's shoulder. Tarani ate in silence, her mind in turmoil, totally unaware of the conversation taking place at the table. When she was finished, she looked up. "I think I'll stay and finish school here," she stated flatly, got up and went straight to her room. A short while later, Mom knocked and peeped in. "Feeling up to talking, Taru?" Tarani was sitting up in bed, pensively. "Sure," she said, and moved to make room for Mom to sit beside her. Mom held a book in her hands. She perched on the side of the bed. "I know how you feel, Taru." Tarani put her head on Mom's lap. "I'm nervous, Mom." Mom ran her hand lovingly through Tarani's hair. "I know, darling, but trust me, it will be fine. The school's hostel is familiar to you, and you know some of the girls there already, don't you?" "Yes, but living away from you, Dad, Veer." Tarani felt tears stinging her eyes. "A time comes in our life, darling, when we must leave our comfort zone to answer, in Joseph Campbell's words, the call to adventure." She showed Tarani the book in her hand. "This is one of my favorite books, and I think you might find it relevant reading now." Tarani glanced at the title, The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell. "In a way, you are about to start your own heroic journey, and feelings of anxiety are but natural. Campbell said that when we cross the threshold of our comfortable familiar zone and step into the unknown, we encounter mentors and allies who help us through our trials in dealing with a new reality. He calls them our threshold guardians. I think you might find the book interesting and reassuring, Mom said softly with a smile, holding out the book for Tarani. Tarani sat up and started reading through the book. Mom talked a little more, sharing her thoughts related to the book and trying to comfort Tarani with soothing words. When she was sure that Tarani was feeling better, she got up, kissed Tarani on the forehead, and said, "Now sleep well, dear. Everything will be all right. You'll see." "Thanks, Mom." Tarani smiled back at Mom and said goodnight. The following days saw frenzied activity in the house. Boxes and cartons lay all over and packers moved in and out of the house all day. Tarani forced herself to keep a brave front through it all. Finally, the day dawned when Tarani was to be dropped off at the hospital. Veer clung to her throughout the ride. When the car entered the hospital compound, Veer hugged her tightly and whispered, "I'll miss you, Taru." "I'll miss you too, Veer. But remember, I'm coming home in 3 months. We'll spend Christmas together." "Now smile," she said, ruffling his hair affectionately. The hostel warden was waiting for them in the visitors' lounge. She looked kindly enough, but upon seeing her, Tarani's stomach turned a somersault as reality hit her anew. She was on the brink of a totally new chapter opening up in her life. The thought was enough to make her nervous. Soon it was time to say her final goodbyes. Tarani hugged everyone, waved goodbye, then quickly turned to follow the warden out of the lounge, afraid that she might lose self-control and break down if she lingered any longer. Mom, Dad, and Veer waited teary-eyed till Tarani was out of sight. The hospital seemed eerily quiet, intensifying Tarani's feelings of nervousness as she walked beside the warden. "Everyone's in the dining hall for dinner," the warden announced, explaining the silence as she led Tarani into the dormitory. They entered a large room annexed to the main dormitory, which the warden explained was reserved for senior students. It had 5 beds, and Tarani was glad to note that hers was by the window. "I'll leave you to unpack before your roommates return." With that, the warden left, and Tarani found herself alone for the first time since leaving home. Suddenly, her resolve melted. She collapsed on the bed and let the tears flow. She cried till she was spent. Opening her suitcase, she took out the book Mom had given her. She ran her hand over it as though trying to draw strength from it. Soon she heard voices approaching. "Hey, you must be Tarani. We've been expecting you." A smiling girl entered the door. It was Seema. She was in the same class as Tarani, though in a different section. "Hi," Tarani smiled back. 3 more girls trooped in behind Seema, laughing and chattering. They greeted Tarani warmly, introduced themselves, and continued to joke and tease one another good-naturedly. "Don't mind us," Seema said, laughing. "We are constantly clowning around. You'll get used to it." Tarani thought they all looked happy and comfortable. She liked them immediately and soon found herself laughing with them. Oh, how light she suddenly felt. A few minutes later, the bell rang. "Study time." The girls got up on cue. "Come on, we'll take you to the study room and show you around the hostel too," they offered. Tarani felt a lump of gratitude at their kindness, her threshold guardians. She glanced at the book on her bed. Yes, the new adventure had begun, and now she felt ready for whatever may come her way. She took a deep breath, standing tall, her head held high. She followed the girls out of the dorm, feeling calm, balanced, and self-assured. Her confident gait seemed to say, "Look out, world, here I come." And that's the end of the story. What a lovely, heartwarming story. On a personal note, this is something that my family has gone through as well, so I can totally relate to this one. It really resonates. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the story.